The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is the Players Lounge, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Barry Church, Danny McCray, Heckma Harrison, and Newy Scruggs.
Yo, here we are. It is that time. It's Monday, Players Lounge on the Eclipse Day. Before the eclipse happens, we do our thing right here.
Okay. Kids been acting a little weird too, man. I think the eclipse, you look at it and be like, I don't know why you acting like that. Is the adults too?
Watch your pets.
Adults too.
Your pets pets are very keen about things. When I lived in California, before the earthquake hit, my dogs would feel it. They would know it. So like, oh. Walking around like next thing you know, yeah, man. So pets know. So Danny McCray, good to see you. Heckma Harrison, good to see you. He's Barry Church.
Yes, sir.
Glad you're here. I'm Newy Scruggs. Aristocrat Gaming is your new sponsor of the Players Lounge.
Aristocrat.
Yes.
Okay.
Draft's coming up later on this month. I've told myself I'm not going to watch. I don't watch those debate shows anyway, but I try not now to watch the clips because the clips that I get on social media are real wild out there. CeeDee Lamb is currently looking for a contract, and Des Bryant weighed in on Micah Parsons' pending contract situation. What is your concern level, gentlemen, about CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys with the contract extension?
Nada. I think I'm less worried about that one than Dax. I think you go into it that they know what the guy did last year. You haven't made any moves in free agency. There is no way in that you are not going to have CeeDee Lamb out here or disgruntled worrying about if he's going to be at training camp, OTAs, any of that stuff. So I think, if anything, that's the one where I'm like, they're going to make sure they get that one done.
Okay. If you ask anybody that saw CeeDee Lamb last year, I think he proved to you why you took him where you did and why he has the respect amongst the Cowboys organization. And I think he proved it to himself that he could be that number one. Everybody here has always been, Amari Cooper. Since he left, he's a Hall of Famer now because he left. But I think CeeDee Lamb showed you that he could be that playmaker. He can, 5 games into the season, that if you throw him the ball, he can be a guy that can, get touchdowns for you. He's a big play threat, and other defenses had to respect him as that playmaker. I think for CD, honestly, for him to even ascend to higher heights, he needs to have a compadre with him, somebody else. And I know we're going to get into that portion. But the deal is you're going to, whether it's market setting or not, you're going to have to pay him, I think, around $20 million is what we talked about last week. And that's that at least, right? And so as the salary cap goes up, these guys are not going to acquiesce to any, you want to be a Cowboy for life. They want to see that money right now. And so I don't blame CeeDee Lamb for being like that, but I think at the end of the day, being disgruntled or holding out or doing any of those, that's up to him. But I think at the end of the day, that would be a self-sabotage in his case.
Well, and one thing, we saw what he looked like, what the disconnect between him and Dak in the last game. We don't want to disgruntle nothing. We want to focus straight up 88 that's going into the game ready to play. My good.
No. It's a deal that has to be done. Like y'all all said, he's the number one offensive threat, in my opinion, for this Cowboys team offensively. But I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried that, it might not get done. Because when I look at it, the Cowboys, they never really seem to be in a rush to get things done. When you talk about guys that are homegrown and they've gone through the whole gauntlet of doing their whole 5 years, whatever, 4 years after a first round pick, they don't seem to be rushed to get this job done. And they seem to be like it's kind of kicking the can down the road. And we've seen it happen plenty of times with Dak Prescott being franchised a couple times. So to me, this is a deal that has to get done because I believe he is your offense. I mean, we right now, no disrespect to Rico Dowell, but we don't have really, a great running game, to speak of. We know the options on the outside. Without Michael Gallup, you got a Cooks and you got Ferguson. Ferguson is the real deal at tight end. Cooks, to me, he's an aging star, but he still can get, he still can give you some yards out there on the outside. But you've got to get this thing done with CeeDee Lamb. And to me, I don't know, man. I can't see him not touching the field without a contract. Like I just can't see that. I can't see that happening. Knowing the type of guy he is. So I don't know, man. It's gonna come down to the wire.
And that's the part about it that I'm dreading, because I got that same feeling that if there's not a deal done before camp, he's not showing up to camp.
I can see it.
And that isn't going to do anything muddy waters that's already murky when you talk about the other contracts that are looming. So, look, I think we talked about how much time the Cowboys actually have to get deals done, and it's not a get it done now kind of situation. But the draft is in what? How many days? 17 days.
Yeah.
The draft is in 17 days. If they can get it done before or immediately after, would make sense to me. Not let this thing, don't drag your feet and let this thing last all the way through the summer.
I'm not worried, but I go back into something you just said, Barry, when you were, hey, they seem to drag their feet. This is their strategy. Steven has talked before. He says deadlines make deals. So their strategy in negotiating these deals is they clearly like waiting and taking this thing to the point they're comfortable with and then signing deals.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that to necessarily change. So come OTA time, I don't expect to see number 88 here. We saw it with Zach Martin before. We saw it with Travis Frederick before. We're going to see, it was with Des Bryant. We're going to see this again where, okay, they're going to take their time. They're going to get a deal. But number one, he knows the offense. So don't worry about that. Number two, he's all pro last year, and his worth is there. They'll figure it out. Heck, here comes the big question. Where are you willing to go? I looked up Devontae Adams, 5 years, 140, averages $28 million a year. He was guaranteed $65.5 million. Tyreek Hill, 4-year, $120 million deal with Miami, averaging $30 million. He was guaranteed $72 million with a signing bonus of $52.5. You have to decide now, is it $28 or $30 million that you're going to give an average for CeeDee Lamb? And so it basically is going to be a $30 million receiver.
Yeah.
So you're talking a $30 million receiver and a quarterback averaging about $60 million. So this is where you're at potentially as a franchise right now. How are we feeling about that, guys?
Man, this is when you put the names up there and you say that these guys are making that amount of money. I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb's last year and I'm saying he deserves it. It's like I can't argue against him making what Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill are making, because when I watched them last year, especially 5 weeks into the season, the guy showed up and we were sitting here saying 1,300 yards. He probably not.
Yeah.
He blew that out of the water. God. And showed that he was a top receiver in the league, if not the best, going into the end of the season. So it's hard to argue against it. That's a lot of moolah.
And the market's the market. Like, you hit the time right, you're going to get paid. But when I'm thinking about a $30 million receiver, I'm looking at Tyreek Hill. It don't matter who you got next to Tyreek. He did have Waddle, but I feel like he can come into an offense and just his speed alone will generate points. I feel like once he steps on the field, he's at least 14 points, on that. When I look at CD, I mean, he's don't get me wrong, he is a complete dog. He is a complete dog. But would you?
Here it comes. No disrespect, but this
would
coming.
you put him up there with a Tyreek?
For this team and what he did on this team last year? Yes, 100%. You look at
He's a dog. He is a dog.
We was talking about what Brandon Cooks wasn't doing. We was talking about what Michael Gallup wasn't doing. Talking about what Tony Pollard wasn't doing. You talking about Ferguson and CD? 12-5.
I get it. It's just, I mean, when you look at Devontae, so I think he's probably better than Devontae right now, because Devontae went from Carr to all these, and his numbers dropped crazy. But when you put Tyreek, Pat Mahomes' numbers is crazy. You throw him with a Tua Tagovailoa, his numbers is crazy. When Pat Mahomes went down, and he was out there playing with, I forget who the backup was, but he was putting up crazy numbers, because you can just launch it up to this man.
Yeah.
CD is a dog, don't get me wrong, but I don't know.
So are you? I'm sorry.
No, I just think that also when you look at those two players, you look at the quarterbacks that's throwing the guys that's throwing them the ball and where they are with their deals. Tua is still in a rookie deal. Just go back to Houston and some of the moves that they're making. They're able to make those moves because their quarterback is still in his rookie deal.
That's
so. I think you cannot pay everybody.
That's true.
But you cannot unload your stars. And if it's 28, if it's 30, that's why I was saying acquiesce to the pressure of saying, I'll take less just to be a Cowboy. Guys are not doing that no more. And you want to be paid your worth, and market value dictates. I was saying 20 million. Nui, thank you for correcting it. It's 30 million. It's 30 million. And if you're going to do that, and whether it's funny money or not, now we're talking 31 million, because I'm sure he wants to pound his chest and say, I'm the highest paid wide receiver. We sit here and say, well, based off of conventional wisdom, are you Tariq Hill-ish? Are you Devontae Adams-ish?
He's a beast.
Hold on, just because it seems like we may be forgetting just a little bit. Okay, 135 catches last year,
he did.
One in the league.
He did.
1,749 yards,
He did.
second in the league, and we talking about not coming on until 5 games into the season.
Yeah.
That's facts.
You know,
He
so I
did his
mean,
thing. He did his thing.
It's hard. First in the league in receptions, second in the league in yards.
Tubbs was up there.
He
a beast.
Third in touchdowns.
He was first team All Pro, and I want to say he was one vote off from being unanimous in terms of the wide receiver spot. So as we look and say Jerry all in, and people are frustrated saying there's been no all in. If you know you have to pay $30 million to your receiver and $60 million to your quarterback, how all in can you really be in terms of trying to fill out other spots? These two guys are going to take up a lot of money. So it almost becomes a Jerry Buss Lakers type mentality. When the late Jerry Buss owned the Lakers, he was about stars. I'm paying the stars. Okay? Pay this guy. That means other people don't get paid. That means you had to be very judicious about who else gets what. So when you look and say, well, hey, they let this person out the door, that person out the door, upstairs they're pretty smart. Yeah. Jerry Jones is a very good businessman.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm paying these guys, if I have to pay Lamb, I have to pay Dak, I eventually have to pay Micah Parsons, that means other goods. I can't pay Dorrance Armstrong. I can't pay Tyler Biotish. So they get to walk out of the door. So in order to pay these gentlemen, I've got to find dudes who can fit in here, draft well, get some bargain basement guys after the draft. You know, this is, to me, that's why I'm not worried about the CeeDee Lamb deal. Based on their history and what they're doing, he's getting the money. Questions becomes, who else is in the receiver room? Where else do we fill our offensive line positions and our front seven on defense? To me, that's your real conversation.
Yeah.
Paying CeeDee Lamb is really not a conversation. That's happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
That's happening. It's now, okay, I have CeeDee Lamb as my 1. I've got Brandon Cooks as my 2. Right now, I've got Jalen Tolbert as my 3. I'm going to have to figure out how I get more out of Kevontae Turpin as my 4.
Got Ferg in there.
So when I just look at my wide receiver spot, top 4 right now, are you comfortable?
Would those be in the top 4?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You
with
good?
that.
You good?
Yeah, I mean, it's not star-studded, but I mean, we seen Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb come on at a certain part of the season, and then you got a young Ferguson who you say, okay, going into this next year, he's got to be better than he was last year, and last year was a damn good year for him.
And year 1 of that offense.
So
year 1 of that offense. Heckman?
Well, that's where you serve up the argument to Barry about your quarterback and him needing talent around him to obviously exceed expectations and get to the NFC Championship. You're going to have it. And if you look around the league at the teams that are competing for those every year, they have stars at the wide receiver position. Look no further than for the 49ers. Look no further than the Philadelphias. They have talent at those positions because – look, they've drafted well, but they've also had to go to the mantra of we can't sign certain guys. Look, if you're not one of the star guys, you're not going to get paid. And by the way, your star guys know the offense well enough that your quarterback can actively, make all of these guys successful in it. We have to arrive to the point that once defenses take away CD, who else is there? And can you rely on Dak to make a B-level, C-level guy an A-level guy when it counts the most? Yeah. We're not coming up with that, and that argument has already worked itself out, and we saw that in the biggest games.
Were we talking about prior to the season last year? CeeDee Lamb's contract situation.
Oh yeah.
Could he have got paid last year?
Yeah. It's the same thing with Michael. When he goes, man, gonna come down to the wire.
So your timing goes, we had an opportunity to pay him where people were projected him to have 1,300 yards and this would catches and be whatever, top 10 in the league. To we waited. And now he was number 1 in receptions, number 2 in yards, first team All-Pro, almost unanimous. And now the price went up.
Think about that with Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs, you only escaped that with him. Well, you had to pay him because he was a number 2 draft pick, and you can't extend him out. You have to get his deal done.
So, Heckman, I think what you hit on right there is you were going to have one of these two guys you were going to have to try to pay. You wanted them both. You wanted the receiver, you wanted the corner. You went for the guy, okay, let's get him right now because and luckily for him, he got his bag before getting hurt. It was going to cost you. Mm-hmm. It was going to cost you either way. So now we look at Diggs and say, okay, for the corner market, all right, we're good there. You didn't save on both, but you saved on one. And in today's NFL, can't really argue there. When we come back, I want to talk about, just based on what Heckma said, maybe I make you feel better, just a little bit better, about the 4 receivers that the Cowboys have here.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. That and also.
All right, Brooklyn.
The running back position.
Do something to make me feel better.
Players Lounge brought to you by Aristocrat.
This is the Players Lounge.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Hi, I'm Danny McCray, Dallas Cowboys alumni player here with Smoothie King. And Smoothie King wants to ask you, what's that sound? That's the sound of us magically transforming our smoothie bowls into 2 new decadent flavors. Dig into a cool acai or pitaya bowl, handcrafted with crunchy, purely Elizabeth granola, fresh strawberries, and finished with a velvety chocolate hazelnut drizzle. Perfect for breakfast, lunch, or anytime you want to munch. And that's the sound of you making them disappear. Smoothie bowls, now in 2 new decadent flavors. Only at Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
To kick off the 2023 NFL season, Hugo Boss teamed up with the NFL and Micah Parsons to launch an iconic apparel collection featuring hoodies, crews, t-shirts, polos, joggers, and more. The bold, unique apparel of the Boss NFL collection unites football and fashion while reflecting what it truly means to be a boss. Get yours today at nflshop.com/HugoBoss, at HugoBoss.com, and at Boss retail stores. # be your own boss.
There is no I in Dallas. There is no I in Hart either. No I in Blue Star or in Lone Star for that matter. And there's no I in how about them Cowboys? Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together. With good drinks and good folks, home or away, we rally together, we cry together, and we always rally cry together because there's definitely no I in Cowboys fans. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Come out to the Star in Frisco for Dallas Draft Weekend presented by Miller Lite. The party starts on Thursday, April 25th at 6:30 p.m. Enjoy live draft coverage, player appearances, live performances, and more on Friday. Come back for draft night out with alumni and DCC appearances at Miller Lighthouse. Then finish strong on Saturday with the Draft Day 5K presented by Baylor Scott and White Health. For more information, visit DallasCowboys.com/draft.
Okay. Thank you, Heckma Harrison. Aristocrat Gaming is the new sponsor for the Players Lounge.
Aristocrat Gaming. I got it.
Barry Church.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Took the head off.
Yeah, it was getting a little hot. Take that down.
Receiver. Talk to receiver. Got to feel sweating a little bit.
I had to take it out. Let the air out a little bit.
Sweat, we about to talk about Daniel Jones.
Danny McCray. I knew he was.
Hold on, Daniel. You said Daniel.
Get right. Get right.
That boy got beads of sweat on.
I had to get the air out a little bit, you know.
Hey, for history's purpose, let me just tell this story. Bro, I think it was our second year in the league. Maybe first. Purposes. We was sitting on this. The man be sweating, I'm telling you.
Nah, that's a fact.
Bro, we got on the bus to go to the game.
I don't even know if I was playing that game, though.
Listen, and I'm sitting right in front of him. I was like, man.
We was going to Washington.
We was going to Washington. I'm talking about drenched. It's cold on the bus, too. He drenched.
It's cold.
And then T. New walk on the bus. He said, hey, what's wrong with Ben?
I don't know. Was that rookie year?
Bro, it was rookie or second year.
Yeah, it was in one of them.
I'm talking about, you would have thought he was about to have a heart attack. Like, he was, like, sweating through the suit and everything.
Yeah, it was real.
Great Terrence Newman.
That might have been, yeah. T. New walked by like, you all right, man? He gave me a towel and everything. I think that was my first game actually like suiting up. Because the first couple games I was on the sideline, just there. This was my first game suiting up. I was nervous. One of the two, but I was sweating.
Well, you were
I was
so
drenched.
he got a Jack Black is what he need. A little anti.
I tried it all. I tried to sweat spray all that. That ain't working.
Sundays don't matter. The great K-State Wildcat, Terrence Newman, throwing you a towel. He knew.
So best feet in the game, man. He was cold.
Man.
He was cold, man.
So we're talking about the Cowboys wide receiver position of CeeDee Lamb 1, Brandon Cooks 2, Jalen Tolbert 3, and Kevontae Turpin 4. Last year, the Detroit Lions had an excellent season. Came here, gave the Cowboys all they wanted, lost in overtime, went out to San Francisco, darn near won that football game.
Yeah.
And many people believe should have gotten that game. Their receivers, Amara St. Brown.
There you go.
Good football player. Definitely a one.
There you go.
Then you go Jamison Williams and Josh Reynolds as your number 2 and 3 guy. Really, Sam Laporta, their tight end, is a really good player, a la Jake Ferguson there.
Okay.
So I bring that up to you to say, get yourself one dude and some possibles around here. You're okay. And
Go ahead.
and I'm just so for me when I look at that, I'm like, you can win with this. We don't have to have all pros or Pro Bowlers at 2 spots. You can win with this, and I believe that the Cowboys, if I line up this crew versus the Cowboys crew right now, I can roll with the Cowboy crew.
Two very big differences. Okay. Gibbs and Montgomery is what made the difference. Is why you can trot those guys out there, because you have the opportunity to make the defenses have to respect the run as much as they did against the Lions, which we don't have. So when you say you trotting those guys out there, you trotting them out there with the defense saying, we stopping those guys because we don't have to focus on the run. So look.
You're walking into the spider's web. So
I'll take it.
Okay, I'm gonna let Heck go first. But then what you said, you walk it right into the spider's web. Go ahead.
No, there's a fundamental difference between those two teams, and obviously it's the running game. And I think, when you talk about those players like Jameson Williams, he is a first-round draft pick. He is a guy coming off of an ACL injury out of college, but also a big-time playmaker. But like you said, Laporta is the 1A to Amon-Ra St. Brown in that offense. And so I think when you look at that from a roster depth chart standpoint, I think they do kind of match up with what the Dallas Cowboys have. But the fundamental difference is the running game and where you have to respect them in that aspect. And I think their whole philosophy as a team is built on running the ball, because they don't want to go into any game saying, we're going to Amon-Ra St. Brown as our end-all to be-all, like the Cowboys are with CeeDee Lamb.
So, thank you very much, gentlemen, because my next point, what I've got written, is the running back situation.
Okay.
We've already talked last week about the need to fulfill the Cowboys' offensive line and the front seven defensively. My next thing for the Cowboys is that running back situation where go draft. To me, you need to use a day 2 pick on a running back, because if you don't get a running back in the 3rd round, you'll have a 4th round. You probably go to the 5th round, which you could possibly do. You could possibly do. But I'm going to draft a running back, and I'm going to sign a veteran running back. There are going to be running backs out there, especially after the draft, who gets cut or whatnot. What Detroit did, now they used a 1st rounder in Gibbs. The Cowboys, I don't anticipate them doing that, but they're going to get yourself a good running back, a young running back, and go find a veteran running back. And they made that work. Oh, by the way, they had a great offensive line. But what they're doing works. But ultimately, to me, I got to build my football team to beat the 49ers. Right now, I can't stop the run. I can't run the ball. If I do these things, then maybe I got a shot. But right now, to me, this is just my opinion, everybody shoot it down. Feel free to shoot it down. Until you figure out how to stop the run and run the football with your offensive line, I don't think the Cowboys are going to be doing anything other than what we've seen the past 2 years, leaving us disappointed.
Yeah,
Go ahead, shoot me down.
And I'm right there with you, because you got to build a team to beat San Francisco. We all understand that. And to me, it comes down to which side of the football are you going to rely on this year? because there's just too many holes on both sides to fix both problems. Also, you're coming in with a new defensive coordinator, which I think is going to hurt this defense a little bit, at least at the beginning. I mean, we understood with Dan Quinn, he came in here, and not only did he come in here, he had 11 some draft picks to go ahead and get his tools and make sure his defense was where it's at, and they were able to be out there and be explosive. This year, you don't have as many draft picks. You got as many holes offensively as you do defensively. So to me, you got to figure out which side of the ball is going to be the shoulder to lean on, which side of the ball is going to be more productive. And offensively, you got the quarterback in Dak Prescott. You might not have a run game, but you got a number one receiver on the outside of CeeDee Lamb. You got Ferg. So to me, I think you got to lean offensively to make sure you get that as powerful as it can be, and hopefully that defense can ramp up at least towards the end or the middle of the season to kind of match the offense's firepower. Because we saw it last year when these two guys' defenses started out great, historical defense. They started slowing down a little bit, but the offensively, Dak Prescott and those guys were able to catch up. To me, it's going to be harder to get that balance this year because you lost one of the best defensive coordinators in the game and a lot of players as well. We understand the holes on both sides. So, to me, you got to lean on offensively being explosive as you can this year to match at least the 49ers and those heavy hitters in the NFC.
Shoot holes in what I said, Heck. Come on.
I mean, you have the most continuity on your offense as far as your play caller and your quarterback and the experience from your receivers. I think you can lean on your offensive line and the guys that you've had that have been starters. But Nui, I think it's dangerous in a lot of ways, and you know this. Going back to those old Chicago Bulls teams that could not get over the hump of beating the Detroit Bad Boys. Every time they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, Detroit was waiting on them, and they played bully ball. And it wasn't until they got guys like Dennis Rodman to come in and play that could match that intensity, that knew the culture, in which how you beat guys like that. You know. It'd be a different thing if last year we got beat by the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs. No, we got beat by Green Bay. And it was an attitude was the reason why we got shocked at home. And everybody was like, that ain't the team that I saw all season long. To me, it's like I would expect maybe a little bit of a pullback as far as the defense because of Zimmerman. That's a great point that you make. But I expect for this offense to hit the ground running and be able to carry that until you can play that complementary football. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think it would be a dangerous thing to try and say we're going to build this because we were building to beat Philadelphia Eagles. Now we're building to beat a San Francisco 49ers. Build around the pieces that you have. Bring playmakers in so you can beat whoever, because even when you get past that, you get to the next level, man, you got Kansas City waiting on you. Mm-hmm. So how do you get over that hump, right? So, look, I think your point in how you build a championship squad is going to be in the front, also in the running game. But, man, at the same time, you have so many pieces still here that you can build around.
Man, look, if I'm going all in, and knowing the resources we don't have and what we can't do, I'm putting everything on the defense. Because to me, I'm looking at the game and I'm saying, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. All right, can't run the ball, can't throw the ball. What kept them in the games? They defense, right? Defense kept them close enough to be able to make the plays that they needed to play. Yeah. We're better at quarterback. We're better at receiver. So we should be able to, one, carry it until we at least get to those type of games. Hey, man, can our defense keep us in the games to where our offense could win a 17-16 game? Like, if we can get there, then I think we have a chance to beat those teams, the San Francisco's, the Kansas Cities. If we can't play defense, we don't have enough on offense to get in the shootout with nobody. We don't have a running game. Right now we got CD. We still trying to figure out Cooks and all that. But for what Cooks has been, he didn't put up the numbers that we had usually been able to see him put up. So to me, it's like, hey man, push it all in. Make sure we can play some really good defense to keep us in those games, and then lean on your $60 million quarterback and your potentially $30 million receiver to make sure that you can make those big plays when you need to make them. Cincinnati's the same way. Since as good as Joe Burrow was, as good as Jamar Chase is, when you look at the team that went to the Super Bowl, their defense kept them in a lot of games and allowed Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to make big plays when they mattered. Not necessarily a lot of shootouts. So I'm like, hey man, front seven, we got to get it. We got our secondary covered if Trayvon Diggs comes back as healthy as we expect him to. But your front seven has to be the ones to help you, one, stop the run, because if we could have stopped the run against Green Bay and just stopped that bleeding, then we may have been able to get back in the game, but we weren't able to do that. So I'm just, hey, man, all in, everything. Zimmer, you got 1 year? Tell me what you need. Mike, we done gave you a year, so okay.
But he's got to have the tools.
You know, yeah.
He
Just
gotta
based on
No,
the
that's what I'm
tools,
saying. If
he
it's
does-
all in,
he
I'm
has
on
to have
Zimmer
the
to say,
tools.
hey, man, what do you need? We going into the draft. What do you need? You got free agents out there that used to play for you, and you think these guys will come in on a 1 year? Hey, man, bring that guy in. That's the same thing Dan Quinn did. That's how Curse gets here because there's guys that he trusts to be in the system.
Man, Cincinnati is a great comp because that defense is unheralded. I mean, a lot of people don't even talk about Cincinnati's defense and the way that they have, held things in the road, even when Joe Burrow struggled. But when I think about them, all I think about is Joe Burrow and how damn good he is,
Exactly.
and the way that he creates. Even when Jamar Chase isn't good, their second receivers and their tight end is pretty good. And by the way, they got a running game.
Now, when Joe Burrow went out, did we watch? I only can't remember the backup name. Out there winning games.
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning.
Yeah.
Because of that
defense. Because
was Washington.
the defense was out there making big time plays, and we watched it, and we were sitting back like, well, these dudes might come back and still make the playoffs because their defense was able to keep them in the game. So
I can't name one guy that's on that defense, and I'm serious. Like
Sam
it's
Hubbard,
Henderson.
Man, okay,
Hendrickson.
there you
Wilson.
go. Give me two.
Our buddy used to be here. Was the corner?
He just got paid. Did he go?
Cheeto.
Yeah, he went
Cheeto
somewhere.
Uche.
He just got paid.
Unbelievable.
Was it Eli Apple was there back when they
But when they went to Super Bowl,
Super Bowl?
So I mean, you're right. Their defensive coordinator Amarillo or something like that. He got a lot of interviews. Didn't get a job, but he's done a very good job. But yes, we talk about the offense because this thing's all built around fantasy football now. Fantasy football, gambling, and so your offensive guys are going to get the credit though. They're very, very good defensively. Going back to what you said, and I look back to our previous Players Lounge podcast when you talked about what to do in rounds 1, 2, and 3. You went round 1 defensive tackle, round 2 offensive line, and round 3 linebacker. So you talking about addressing these needs that the Cowboys have here. In 1981, you guys weren't around, but heck, you and I were. Bill Walsh's San Francisco 49er team was terrible in the defensive backfield, and they used their first 3 picks on filling those needs. Ronnie Lott was one of them. And
He was pretty good.
Yeah, he did
4-2,
okay.
4-2 club. 4-2.
Yeah, so
Can't play this. Can't play now. You can't. No.
Eric Wright,
Yeah,
and
nobody.
there was another player, but that's where he went. He went heavy there. So if you're the Cowboys, I don't have an issue as long as everything has to be in the front 7. It's got to be on the O line right now. You've got to fix those spots, especially if I'm going to be paying $60 million for a quarterback, $30 million for a receiver, potentially $30 million for a defensive piece in Micah Parsons. I've got to fill these spots somewhere. You do not have a center. Guys, you cannot play this game without a center.
No, I can't do that.
And right now, is anybody comfortable with
No. Don't even say his name. Yeah, no. That's why I said I think and where I went on my list was offensive line first, defensive line somewhere in that order.
You went offensive tackle, then you went defensive line, and then you went running back.
Yeah, I think I went center. I think it was center. The Powers from Oregon is the guy that I'm thinking about. Either way, it's got to happen. It's one of the things that we are going to struggle mightily if we don't get the middle of our offensive line fixed.
And when you're trying to beat the 49ers, you got to be aware of that defensive line because they're pretty good. All right, let's get our final break here. Players Lounge brought to you by Aristocrat Gaming right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
To kick off the 2023 NFL season, Hugo Boss teamed up with the NFL and Micah Parsons to launch an iconic apparel collection featuring hoodies, crews, t-shirts, polos, joggers, and more. The bold, unique apparel of the Boss NFL collection unites football and fashion while reflecting what it truly means to be a boss. Get yours today at nflshop.com/HugoBoss, at HugoBoss.com, and at Boss retail stores. #Be your own boss.
Hi, I'm Danny McCray, Dallas Cowboys alumni player here with Smoothie King. And Smoothie King wants to ask you, what's that sound? That's the sound of us magically transforming our smoothie bowls into 2 new decadent flavors. Dig into a cool acai or pitaya bowl, handcrafted with crunchy, purely Elizabeth granola, fresh strawberries, and finished with a velvety chocolate hazelnut drizzle. Perfect for breakfast, lunch, or anytime you want to munch. And that's the sound of you making them disappear. Smoothie Bowls, now in 2 new decadent flavors. Only at Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Head to Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium for the Dallas Cowboys Tacos and Tunes Festival presented by Miller Lite on Saturday, May 4th from 3 to 7 p.m. Enjoy a variety of tacos from regions across Mexico, and food trucks are fair while you sip on cold drinks and listen to live music. Admission and parking are free. Visit attstadium.com/tacos and tunes for more information. See you there.
Players Lounge. You got Barry Church, Heckman Harrison, Danny McCray, Newey Scruggs. Did everybody check out the national championship game?
Oh, yeah.
Between South Carolina and Iowa, a rematch of last year's Final Four game in Dallas.
Yeah,
it was a good game.
That's a good game.
A real good game.
It's a good game. Caitlin Clark is the real deal. Shout out to Don Staley. Was it? I can't even pronounce the big girl name.
Cardoza? Is it Cardoza?
Man,
From Brazil.
they had no shot getting them boards under there. She was swatting everything. They just came and they was ready to play. But shout out to both of them. It was a great game. I have not watched that much since last year, but I usually don't watch basketball like that, especially not men's. But the women's basketball game, I'm locked in.
I was watching since the Sweet 16. I'm in it, man. There's talent all over the place, man. All over the place.
And the storylines, I think, were more intriguing than anything. I mean, the media did a good and bad job of trying to play up teams, even from the LSU matchup with Iowa. But I love to see South Carolina's guard. Last year, she got waved off by Caitlin Clark.
River.
Yeah. But, boy, you talk about delivering on defense. I had to make sure I say that right. Delivering on defense and do it. I mean, she had a hell of a second, third, fourth quarter into the first half and complete the second half. And you just see the skill level. And last year, I think 3 years ago, there was those complaints about look at the conditions that the women's game is in, their locker room, all those things. And I think even now, when you go back and you look at the eyeballs that are on the game, I don't know based off of tonight's championship game, but does it exceed what the men's game is getting as far as the eyeballs on it? And so the attention and the money, that's what it's all about, needs to also be put in the same place for the women's game. But shout out to Dawn Staley, man. I think, her testimony is amazing because she was a phenomenal player. And to be a phenomenal coach as well just says a lot about her. And we've seen a lot of players, men do the same thing. They were great players and then end up, being great coaches. It's a tough thing to do.
I know this. We'll see what the numbers are. But talking about eyes being on the game, I know they said like 12.3 million watched the LSU versus Iowa game
at 2:00.
Yeah, at 2:00. So I can it's just growing, and and they could Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Flo, all those girls that played last year in the championship, and then how they took out South Carolina, Dawn State, like all those people who were involved in taking it to where it is, they all deserve some credit. Like I said, because I don't know how many people was watching women's basketball like they watch it now before last year.
Yeah.
What you had, and I don't think it was spoken about enough, and I was so blessed that last year I was able to go to the Final Four in Dallas. Because what we saw in Dallas last year ended up going into this season and ultimately culminating in Cleveland. Last year's Final Four in Dallas, everybody forgets Virginia Tech was there, but it was Iowa there. That's when a lot of people first, okay, Here's Caitlin Clark. South Carolina was the number 1 seed in last year's Final Four. They were there with Dawn Staley. And then you had LSU and Kim Mulkey's like, here it is, year 2. The woman who built Baylor's now built this here at LSU. So the excitement for all that was there, and then it lived up to it because Iowa upset undefeated South Carolina to get to the championship game, and then here's LSU. They get to the championship game, and then it's Clark against Angel Reese. You had a fantastic finish. LSU wins it. Well, they're all back. The coaches are all back. The players are all back. And then LSU did their part. Great all year long. Here's South Carolina coming back from that disappointment, undefeated, great all year long. Their matchups against LSU were epic matchups in the regular season and in the SEC championship. And then Iowa continued to play great. And for all the spotlight put on, all 3 teams lived up to it and got back to the Final Four.
Crazy.
So now what do we have? We have familiarity. And with all due respect to the men, and I'm not beating them up, if those are men and they have that year that they had the Final Four, they're all leaving. Nobody's coming back. But in the women's game, they all came back, and then every household names got all the spotlight, lived up to everything. LSU was great all year long. South Carolina great all year long. Iowa great all, and we got them in the Final Four.
And it doesn't happen all the time where you get those matchups, and we were treated to those matchups again.
And so I bring back to you, once again, you two don't remember, but you and I, this was Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
You know, it was those great Georgetown and Houston teams. Oh, here they're back again. It's Carolina with Sam Perkins and James. They're back. You got to know who they were. You don't know these guys in men's basketball anymore because they're leaving. And if you don't leave, people looking at you, what's wrong with you?
You ain't good.
Right. He came back and played a second year. There must be something wrong with it. I mean, the NBA does look at some of these. I mean, really, the NBA values dudes with 1 year or some Europeans they hadn't seen. You play enough, they're like, hey, man, he went second round.
Yeah, that's You've been around too long.
Right.
Too old.
If you're not the high school kid going to the G League or doing something like that, they don't know your name. You don't become a household name. But, I mean, you make a great point, especially with and you see the skill level. I had a problem all last week, man. I didn't tweet about it like my man Danny did. But the Angel Reese hate, man, it made me sick, to see that. But I have to give her, man, you got to give her flowers for coming back, for trying to be a repeat champion. And so, I mean, the media and the way that they attacked her, man, I didn't like it.
Yeah. It's crazy, and because I'm an LSU guy, I love Angel Reese.
No,
but I'm also just how I felt about somebody saying something about TJ Watt. I feel the same way about the Caitlin Clark because it went from love on Caitlin Clark to she getting too much love. Oh, what about us? Same thing. Like all of a sudden you see Angel Reese's love, Caitlin Clark's love last year, and then Angel Reese wins, and then it goes into Angel Reese hate. Then Caitlin Clark get all the love. Everybody's watching all the Iowa games. They number 1, and then now it's like, hold on. Oh, now they cheating for her. They doing this. Nothing positive. The girl dropping 41 on LSU, dropping 30, had 18 in the first quarter, and it's finally, look how she pushed off on so-and-so. I'm like, bro, watch the game.
It's the refs.
Watch the game.
Let her do it.
They playing great basketball here. What are we doing? So, man, I love them both. I'm going to watch WNBA basketball now in the draft. I want to go see all.
Draft gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
too.
so
Crazy.
It's great.
Well, hopefully where we live here, the Dallas Wings can end up getting some better crowds at UTA where they play at the College Park Center. I thought Diana Taurasi had a very interesting comment on ESPN where she said something like the reckoning is coming or just it's going to be an adjustment.
So when she was balling, wasn't she playing against them same 18-year-olds?
Yeah.
When she was setting the records?
Of course
she
she
come
was.
out hate. Well, who Caitlin Clark gonna play against? Who she playing against? Oh, but by the way, she broke all the records. She broke them all.
Player haters ball.
Just haters. She just looked like she hating on the broadcast. She ready to hate.
Haters ball. That's exactly what it looked like.
Brianna Stewart of UConn saying you can't beat a GOAT without a national championship.
Man, dang.
They just hating.
I don't understand, man.
The girl was good. They could. She drowned her back. Man, listen,
I laughed at that one from this standpoint. And Brianna Stewart was a great player at UConn. Won championships. He went to UConn. All the great players. I'm sorry. Nobody was watching Hawkeye basketball until when the Final Four came to Dallas. I did not know about Iowa basketball, women's basketball. I didn't know. ended up going out to the shoot around, which is one of the great things you can do, to go to the practice before the Final Four game, because all the fan bases come out. Man, that was great. It was LSU folks was there. They were there having a good time. The Iowa fans showed up. They got on those overalls of the black and gold, and South Carolina had they treat Don State like Obama out there. Sign this, look at that. I mean, it was the fan bases were great, and so ended up sticking around watching Iowa, reading about it, like, oh, okay, this Caitlin Clark, and you just watching her do some warm-ups like Steph Curry. Oh, she different. Yeah. And then you saw it. Then you saw like, oh my Lord. I mean, South Carolina was undefeated. Caitlin Clark would have tore them up. So you knew, and then of course they go into the press conference and you see like as they walk, she got this, I call it the Steve Nash treatment, where she walked by like, oh, okay, she's 6 foot. Because the first time you see Steve Nash, if you've never seen, you just watch him on TV.
Oh, he bigger than you think.
6'3".
Way bigger than you think.
6'3". Like, oh, that's what I call Steve Nash treatment. Oh, I wasn't familiar with your in person with you. She had that height on her, and there was a couple of other girls from Iowa that had it. So I just look at her, and I thought Dawn Staley, by the way, which you go by class personified, did a great job when she said, "Thank you, Caitlin Clark." She's accepting the trophy. Yeah, she thanked her for what she did for the sport. Because to me, this is the test. How many of you are going to watch women's college basketball next year? Oh, yeah. How in tune will you be? Because Cardoza from South Carolina is gone, and she's built. She has a freshman who played really well. South Carolina will be good again, but what does Iowa do? Man, they don't have another Caitlin Clark coming in. The Stolke girl was a good player, but they're not going to get the same. LSU will be good because Kim Mulkey is Kim Mulkey. She's going to go get more players. Poor Haley Van Lith, you all dragged that poor little girl out there.
I saw somebody say, "Are y'all ready to apologize to her because Caitlin Clark was doing in the next game?" Exactly. It's good, bro. Man. Sometimes you play against someone.
That was coaching malpractice right there.
It was 2 days later. I'm done. I'm out.
I'm looking at it like, did anybody else want any of that?
I'm talking about they could have helped out.
Right. Nobody said, "Hey, who want the assignment?"
Nobody said, "Get out the way. I'm in here."
You got it, Haley.
He could have doubled his up.
But that lift. So therein lies the whole thing.
She didn't sleep the night before.
No. The clips was rolling too, and she was just like, I can't do it.
She deactivated that social media account too, like the other girl that got that they said set the screen when she's like, she quit hers. But that's going to be the key is while there's this excitement and talk about it now, what do you do next year? Because now you're going to, who else plays on these teams?
So just when you think there's not another one,
we'll see.
Here comes another one.
But you had that. Sometimes you get a perfect storm. It's Magic and Bird, the perfect storm that they had in '79 when it's Indiana State against Michigan State. That's what the WNBA they're about to get. They're about to get that. Let's see if they can elevate the sport the way those two players did.
That's a crazy comp.
It's a crazy comp, but at the same time, that Magic Bird game was the highest NCAA game that had ever been played.
And the reason I say that is because those two players go into the draft, and then not only that, their pro careers do the same thing. So is that going to be the same thing with Reese and Clark?
You know what? If you're the WNBA, that should be your hope, that you could take it, help elevate it to another level. That's what you would hope. Yeah. We'll see. It's an unbelievable comp because they saved the NBA.
Yeah.
Can these two ladies, this group, because it's more than just those two, but definitely, can they help save this league and take it to another level? That'll be fun to watch.
I'll be watching, because especially all the stuff that the vets been talking, I want to see. Can they shut down Caitlin Clark? I don't know. I'll be watching.
Have you ever been to Wings game? Mm-mm. Have you been to Wings game?
Yes.
You been to Wings game?
Nope.
Okay, so 2 of us here have gone, and if 4 of us go, then we are truly seeing impact. And it's not just us, it's other people. We saw the different folks from social media weighing in about this who were watching. So that's going to be the beauty of, to me, to see what happens.
Start soon, right?
Yeah. The draft is coming up this month. The draft is this month. So yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. And then to see how do they replenish it. And so then it gets to the point, it takes a while. When you go to the NFL, started in 1920. Do you guys know? The first 30 years of the league, they went through, the first 10 years, I think they went through 30 franchises. Shutting up, opening down, shutting up. It took a minute before the NFL became what the NFL is. It takes leagues a while to get rolling. People just have this assumption, no, it's hard. Because now we're trying to change people's minds.
But they better capitalize on this because you probably won't get another opportunity for the perfect storm, as you say. You won't see. I know you probably won't see another Caitlin Clark like you won't see another Steph Curry like that. For like it's just different. 10 years from now, you might see. Oh man, she remind me of Caitlin Clark. But right now, that girl's outstanding. She dropped 41 on us, so I got to go.
She cold.
There we go.
Bad lift. They did her dirty, man. They did bad lift.
It was a team. It was a team effort, Barry.
That's a bad situation.
Help me.
It was a team effort.
SOS signal.
It was a team effort.
We're going to leave with a yes/no question. Back to the draft. Trevante Sweat, DWI over the weekend. A good player, Outland Trophy Award winner, who could fit the Cowboys' defensive line help. Based on that, yes or no, would you take him off your draft board? Go.
Ooh.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
No.
Would I take him off?
Yes.
No. Is he subject to discipline from the league?
Probably.
If it's happening now, it's gonna happen again.
Nah, I'm not gonna take him off.
Yeah,
This is the Cowboys, baby.
He went from a first-round grade to a second-round grade. Yeah, there you go, baby.
I give him a second.
Somebody
I give him a second.
Yeah.
When I saw it happen, like, oh, this seems to be the kind of person, and past history shows there's a spot for him here. There's a forgiveness. There's a forgiveness.
Look, grace.
There is grace right here for the Cowboys.
We can reform him.
We have programs. Very church. Danny McCray, Heckman Harris, our new Scruggs. Thanks to Jazz who kept it rolling here. Players Lounge. We'll talk to you next week.
Cover up, Chris.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?